And that was a bit of a cold, wet night. On the plus side, I do have unlimited access to water here, so I can have as much coffee as I want. I was regretting last night that I didn't have any decaf coffee or hot cocoa. I am out here by some chickens, which started going off at about 3 o'clock this morning. Fortunately, I grabbed some new sleeping earplugs to carry along, which worked pretty well. And that is a glorious sight after yesterday. My host was super nice. She literally just stopped as I was walking soggily down the road. She just brought me some yogurt and grape nuts to go with my coffee. She's also throwing my layers in the dryer, which is amazing. So this was soaking wet, not completely sodden, but wetter than I would prefer. And in my experience, the only way to dry layers in a tent, especially when it's damp out, is you have to sleep in them. So I was actually cold for a couple of hours, and all the moisture was coming out through my sleeping bag, which was kind of miserable, but now this is dry and usable. The other layers, I just couldn't. If I had my shorts and that hiking shirt on, I would have just been sopping all night. I figured, worst case, I do carry a sleeping layer after some issues on the PCT. So I figured I could just wear those worst case and then put the hiking layers on the back of my pack. But I am very grateful not to have to do that. Because again, it's cold and I'm out east where humidity can't dry a damn thing. Water stop. And this is the taters moment of the day. Getting a little bit of a late start because I ended up chatting with the lady for the better part of an hour. But in a much better place now. Dry clothes, relatively. Shoes are soaking wet. The weather is a little cold and breezy, but I can handle that. It's just the wet. When it's warm enough that it's not coming down to snow, but cold enough that you have to worry about thermal issues, that is pretty much the worst. Currently, I am still a few miles short of Bridgeville. I think this is the outskirts. And that did not have any sort of, hotel type accommodations. I was actually debating potentially getting a ride off the trail to get to a hotel yesterday if the stealth camping spots I had been eyeing didn't work out. Stuff like this is private property and it's posted no trespassing. And per the lady that let me stay in her yard, apparently part of the reason why I'm getting such a hostile vibe as I'm around here is they have a major homeless problem. I try and have gear and be dressed in a manner where I stand out as more of a hiker, but this is also a trail that, 10 people a year, if that, try. So some people are aware of thru hikers, but most probably just see me as a homeless guy. It is actually something that I think about after experiences on the Eastern Continental Trail. That was partially why I have the patches on my back and why I always have the trekking poles and things. Not sure what I can do other than get that chest tattoo I was joking about, saying probably not a murder hobo. Just so I can keep my future options flexible. So today's Friday. Jen is going to arrive tomorrow sometime. She finishes up school today and she'll be getting a ride out to join me for the next week or so until her spring break is done. There is also another big storm in the forecast next week, but at least we have a couple of good days as she arrives. Really looking forward to Jen joining me, but it's also going to be kind of bittersweet because when she leaves, we are basically apart for 2 months until she joins me at the start of June when her summer season starts. We both really enjoy our lifestyle, but the periods we have to stay apart are one of the bigger negatives to it. And the end of last year, I was overdue on the CDT by, I got delayed 3 weeks by that helicopter ride after that slip in New Mexico. So we were apart a lot longer than we had initially thought. The Eastern Continental Trail, we were apart for a long time because I left December 28th or so, and she didn't join me until spring break. And then again, we had the gap until summer. But at that point, this was still new. When we did the PCT, that was, initially it was just a 3-month break over summer, and then it was the PCT. And then by the end of the PCT, that's kind of when this became a full-on lifestyle, at least barring serious misadventure. So I find my headspace starting out on these is a little different. it's still a great big adventure that I'm looking forward to and all that, but it's also a little more just kind of the norm. I know that unless something happens, I will be out next season. So things like last night are a good example why I don't plan too heavily up ahead. I had a rough plan, some places I could stay if I'd been able to stay on schedule. Obviously with the weather, that didn't really work out. And even once I got moving again, I had some options for places I could stay, but things have a tendency of working out and you can't predict all the options you're gonna have. I just said a friendly hello to a lady who was out doing some gardening and got asked if I was the homeless guy down by the river. It is really hard to explain that, well, yes, I am technically homeless. Jen and I both are. It's with a purpose, with a momentum. I haven't quite figured out how to explain that one. I have just been trying to act like a good ambassador for the ADT and explain that, oh yeah, this is a trail, you know, Delaware out to San Francisco. That's what I've settled on. Workshop a bunch of things, but American Discovery Trail by itself doesn't really ring a bell. So this is why the thumbnails and everything say Delaware to San Francisco, two places people generally know. Thought about Delaware to California just to be a little more consistent, but problem with that is it sounded too much like I was just hiking to California. Coast to coast makes me sound like a conspiracy aliens radio show. Any of the towns near where I started, if I said Luz to or Rehoboth to San Francisco, nobody knows what those first two are. Back when I did the Eastern Continental Trail, I attribute some of the traction I got to the fact I was describing my hike as Key West to Canada. You know, something that people can just come across and they understand. So all my friends, family, and Patreon subscribers get to beta test those various things. Even with the Mississippi, trying to shorten Mississippi into something and keep it understandable was not workable. Hence why we had to spell out Mississippi Source to Sea, and we still had people asking what we were doing. The wind kept messing up the audio, but I started to have a little bit of a pitch point on the side of my foot. That basically can happen if the shoe is too narrow or just because I'm on pavement. I've been trying these Curad Band-Aids that I found at Walmart because they stick better than any sort of athletic tape, etc. that I've been able to find so far. And welcome to Bridgeville. Jen is going to be arriving early tomorrow morning, so we made a plan. I am going to aim for Denton, get a hotel. She will meet me there in the morning, and we can get going. The wind was pretty bad, but I had a local who stopped, and they had seen me walking by and were super excited to meet another ADT hiker. They said they run into a couple of people every year if they can catch them when they pass by. It is really hard not to focus on how many more miles I have until my goal here. Well, that was the guy that started the day before me. He's stopping pretty soon. I'm still hoping to push on to Denton, but my feet are not caring for this pavement. What's not coming across in the video is the stench of chicken farms all through this section. It is pretty ripe. if I wasn't having to push on, this wouldn't be too bad a place to camp. It's state forest land on the right. To the left is yet another farm. And welcome to Maryland. That's it for Delaware. .30, 4 or 5 more miles to the hotel, unfortunately. Yeah, and ouch. Hopefully tomorrow's a little bit of an easier day. Got to get Jen adjusted and all that. Okay, I'm gonna have to check to see how many miles I did, but it was hard miles, whatever it was. The pavement is doing a number on me. So Jen's gonna meet me here in the morning and we'll go from there. Pro tip from a quasi-experienced thru hiker at this point. If Domino's is in range, they may not have the best pizza, but they're fast, they're everywhere, and the app doesn't require you to look up the address, and I'm lazy, so guess what I ordered before I recorded this? This and a tub make for a very happy masochist. Home sweet home for the night.